On this episode of Business is Personal, I'm sitting down with an amazing entrepreneur. You do not want to miss this. We're going to be talking with Crystal Ann Classicas. She's the founder and CEO of Crystal Ann Fashion, and she started her fashion journey at the worst possible time in the worst possible industry and has unbelievable courage. Don't miss this episode. But before we continue, make sure you're connected with me on LinkedIn, Dr. Corey Block. Do you feel disconnected at work? Are you feeling exhausted? Almost like you hate your job and secretly maybe your boss too? This is Business is Personal, a blueprint to discovering and creating meaning at work in collaboration with Smashy TV, a live streaming service in the Middle East for the driven, the dreamers, and the doers. I'm really excited to have Crystal with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. You are the founder and CEO of Crystal Ann Fashion. And that is such an amazing entrepreneurial journey. And the reason I've had Crystal join us is because she has such an amazing Dubai entrepreneurial story. So I don't want to spoil it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. So excited to be here. My name is Crystal, and I used to work a 9 to 5, and now I work 24/7 as an emerging fashion designer here in Dubai. I've showcased my work in New York Fashion Week twice, and I began my business in the middle of the pandemic, just selling masks, and it has escalated to me being an international fashion designer.
That's amazing. Okay, so this is, now you know why I've invited her here, right? She's been to New York Fashion Week twice, started a business in the fashion industry when retail was at its worst.
Absolutely.
Okay,
worst.
What were you thinking? Honestly.
At that moment, I didn't know. I was just like, okay, I need to be in fashion and I need to continue fashion. This is my passion. And yeah, I just started. It was honestly a very huge risk at that point. And I just wanted to do it because the fashion college that I was going to, it closed down in the middle of the pandemic, unfortunately.
No way.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to connect my passion again. And I decided to do that by starting a business. I graduated originally with a business management degree, and I used that to start my business.
So before Crystal Fashion, you were in finance, right?
It was a finance, data and finance risk company. And
data and finance, I can't imagine. Okay, so, no, you mean, because we have dreamers out there, right? So I want to speak to the dreamers now. They're sitting in their chairs, in their financial analysis chairs, and they're thinking about starting their own business, and it might be something wild. It might be fashion, it might be ice cream, okay? So they want to do something really wild, and they're sitting there, and they're wondering, is it worth it to try it? And what's going to get me across the line of making that decision? So how did you get across the line?
It was definitely worth it now, after a few years, but starting it was very, very hard. When I started, no one really believed in the idea of me starting the brand or like me doing this. They were always so skeptical about the idea because one, people around me always thought that fashion didn't really make sense, and you can't earn from a creative industry. So it's better to follow a much more safe job, or not do anything out of your comfort zone, because that's what we grew up.
So you just followed your passion.
Yeah.
And everybody around you was telling you no.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you made the decision to go into the worst industry possible at the worst possible moment. All right, so tell me about how that felt.
I wanted to prove myself to the people around me, I can do this if I really, I know I'm very, very passionate about it. And I research about these things all the time. And working that 9 to 5, I just realized I'm unhappy. And while I was working and studying at the same time, I realized this is not what I want to do forever. And
But now starting your own business, does that make you happy?
It does. I mean, I cry almost every week about it, but it makes me very happy.
Right.
I'm so stressed
I know.
all the time.
I know
but
exactly what you mean.
It's like a happy stress.
Well, I've often said that starting a business is like having a baby.
Yeah.
Right? There's just crying and screaming and vomit, and it's all yours.
Yeah.
Okay? And you don't sleep, and no one says thank you, and you're always trying to save it from killing itself. Okay? That's it. It's like early childhood parenthood is starting a business. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's just you and the market. And it's like, plus if your family's not supportive and the people around you aren't like absolutely cheering for you, you can be very lonely starting a business. So I honestly want you to speak to those people who themselves are sitting behind 9-to-5 desks with a dream and they want to make it happen. You went into the worst possible industry at the worst possible time. Like if you were going to go into retail, fashion, COVID was really not a great strategy choice, in terms of launch. And I'm a career strategist. I would have told you no, like you should wait. And those are the limits of my expertise too, right? As I would have said, listen, you should wait. I would have been with those other people saying this is not the right time to launch a fashion line. So what is it that you faced and how did you grab the courage to go through that?
Like I said, I faced a lot of difficulty, a lot of self-doubt. Even to this day, I think to myself, do I really deserve to be like in this situation? I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I'm like, fashion designer, but I didn't graduate in the fashion industry. It's all, I've just been pushing myself and trying to motivate myself. Like, why did I start this?
Yeah.
What is the main reason of why I started this? And what's keeping me going is the fact that I've always wanted this ever since I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's also a way to push myself and show everybody that you can pursue your dreams even in like the lowest point in the whole world. Basically in the middle of a pandemic, you can basically do anything you want if you want it just as bad as I did at that time.
And I think that's what makes your story relatable for this audience is because there's a lot of people out there that want that, right? And they don't have the support, they don't have the backing. And you went without support, without backing to the worst possible industry at the worst possible time, and yet you made it, right? You made it to here, right? You started from the bottom, now you're here, okay? But even here, your transparency about your current imposter syndrome and like, do I really deserve this? Am I really here? I think that's amazing. And I really thank you for being transparent and sharing that with us because there's so many entrepreneurs out there that struggle with that. Even 2, 3, 4 years into their companies, they're like, okay, am I worthy of this? Am I worthy of leading this? Why are the people following me? I don't know if I'm giving good advice. And that kind of imposter syndrome, and they're the only ones that see it.
Yeah. We as like entrepreneurs or just people in general, we don't really like showing the bad sides of things or like the negative sides of things. We're more into like, let's show the positive. But then, slowly, I realized that no, we should show the negative side because that's the more realistic side. If you are going to one day be a person that people are going to be looking up to, they need to see both sides, not just like the positive side. The negative side is what shapes you and what shapes your story and makes you who you are. You go through all of those negative effects of starting a business, and that's the things that you should share because when another person decides to follow my journey, I want to be a fashion designer, but she makes it look easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. I show my audience, like the people that follow me, that this is definitely a hard journey, and having a great support system, be it family, be it friends, be it mentors, is such an important aspect as both a business owner, then just also in your personal life.
Are they behind you now? Your
Yes.
family supportive now?
Yeah.
They finally came around. They're like, okay, she's actually doing this.
She went to fashion.
So,
okay, I guess it's serious
right.
now.
I guess we better take her seriously, right? So, okay, now tell me about, because I have mine too. I'll do mine before I ask you yours, okay? One of my darkest days in entrepreneurship was when I had to close my fashion company. I started a fashion company. Yes, I did. A number of years ago. It was in Eastern Europe, and it was called Level. And I had all of these great designs, and we had prototypes and all the stuff production. Everything was done, and nobody wanted to buy my stuff. And I realized that I was absolutely, totally arrogant. I had started a couple of other successful organizations, and I just thought everything I touched would turn to gold. So I started a fashion line because I thought that would be cool, but I didn't know anything about fashion. I didn't know anything about the market, and it was just total arrogance and hubris. And I fell flat on my face, and I burned a ton of money in that project. And that was one of my darker days, not just because the company itself failed, but because I realized that it was just because I was arrogant. And that was the limit of my own character. Tell me about one of your darkest days in your process.
I think one of the darkest days was when, really before I decided to resign from my full-time job, taking that decision and really doing fashion designing full-time. Because in the beginning, I wasn't making that much profit, but my brand was getting out there slowly, and I was slowly being recognized, not just here in the Middle East, but also abroad. And I had to make the decision of choosing that stability and having that income come in and doing my passion full time. And it was like one of the scariest times. And a lot of my family members also rely on me. So it wasn't just like a self-decision. So at that point, I had to decide, okay, if I'm going to do this like full on, head on, I need to really work hard.
Yeah, and that meant you had to resign.
Exactly.
And so you had to let go of the security that your 9-to-5 was providing in order for you to have all of the time to dedicate to this new thing.
Yes.
One of my coaching clients is in exactly that position now, and you know exactly who you are, okay? And she is in an amazing position, in an amazing company, and she is contemplating whether or not to let go of that secured position so she can chase her dream and build up her own brand. What is your advice to my coaching client? She's there. She's right there.
My advice is, this is going to be your life now, and you gotta really put on all of your effort, all of your energy. But also at the same time, you need to realize that you are only human. You need to take a break as well. Don't forget to take a break. Oh, I personally forgot to take many breaks, and I had to go through that not so fun ride. So take breaks and just keep going. You're eventually going to see the results. You don't know when. I never knew when also. So just keep going. Keep pushing yourself.
Yeah, you touched on something here that's really important. The importance of taking breaks, yes. Yeah. But then the potential of what can happen if you don't. What happened to you?
Mental breakdowns, and I was in bed for many days, and then I just couldn't sew or make anything or design anything. Like my brain was just like overworked, basically.
And how did you get out of it?
I prayed.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I prayed, and I spoke to my sister and then my family, and like, I need help.
Yeah.
That was the point. I'm the kind of person where I don't like asking for help.
Yeah,
And I don't know, maybe a pride thing. And that was the point where, okay, I need help, and I need the support and talk to somebody about this, because I can't do this on my own.
Yeah, I've had similar days too. And I know, I look like I've got it all together, right? What, you? Dr. Corey, you've had similar days? No. Yeah, I've been like really absolutely emotionally wrecked from trying to build business and trying to create my brand or whatever company it is that I'm working on at that time. And then like, even with a track record of success, I'm still feeling abjectly hopeless, right? And what I would do is I'll just give myself a deadline on that hopelessness. I'll say, you can feel totally hopeless for the rest of the day, but starting tomorrow, you're not allowed to feel hopeless anymore. You just get up and you keep going, right? And I think that's that determination, resilience, the ability to mourn quickly when something doesn't go your way, when you lose a contract or a prototype doesn't come out the way you want it to. I think being able to mourn quickly and move on, I think is really important for entrepreneurs to build that resilience to keep it going.
Definitely, yeah.
So what would you say like are the big three success factors that have led to your success now in the fashion industry for those who are trying to get into the fashion industry?
The first is definitely keep learning. I am constantly looking at trends, learning what is happening within the industry. Another thing is have a great support system. And also work on your skills, whether it be technical skills in sewing and in designing, or your people skills and your networking skills. In this industry, I realized completely different from what I was doing before. Networking is huge.
Yes.
You need to really put yourself out there. If you don't, no one's going to know who you are.
That's right.
Yeah. No one's going to know who you are, what you're doing. So you really need to like get out. Hi, my name is Crystal. And, and just put yourself out there and keep putting out your story, because your story is very personal, and you're the only person that would have that story. And
that's right. No, I love that. So if you're going to summarize those keys to success, if I was going to summarize those keys to success, it would be something individual, which is research, right? Research and information. That's how you make you sharp. Then you need to insulate yourself with a core of people around you that are going to support you and protect you and encourage you. And then you need that wider community that's going to know about you and brag about you when nobody's looking, and behind your back, they're going to say, oh, I've seen these amazing things Crystal's done. So those really great keys to success: research, team, and network. I absolutely love that. So now we're a couple of years on from the dark days, right? Now we have some brighter days. But tell me, what gives your work the most amount of meaning to you?
To me, it is one, I'm doing it because of my family. And the reason why I got into fashion was because I was very inspired by my late aunt, and she was really that one person that I used to look up to. She used to make all of our clothes when we were growing up. So having that, and seeing her change fabric into something that is wearable, that was like magic to me. That emotion really stayed with me, and that has always been like my motivation. Feeling that again every time I create something for a new client, and them seeing me change a piece of fabric like how my aunt did into something beautiful, like for example a bride on her wedding day. It's really like amazing to me. And also spreading the awareness that, let's be honest, the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries right now. And spreading the awareness of slow fashion and being conscious of what you buy and how the clothes that you have are made. You know where it's coming from, you know who makes it, and you know what it's made of. So my buyers are very conscious. And
you're very sustainability oriented.
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing.
For sure, yeah.
That's really cool.
Sharing that as well, and informing people about like the effects of the fashion industry is something that I personally advocate for.
That's amazing. I love how how you entered fashion because of an emotional reaction that you had to your aunt elevating fabric into something, right? And now you also are elevating fabric into an emotional response. And that's an amazing art. It's something that I have personally failed in. And I look at you with great awe and respect for having persevered.
Thank you so much.
And I think for me, one of the most incredible stories is when you chose to do what you wanted to do. I think that is unbelievable opposition and very challenging circumstances. And I absolutely applaud you for your courage.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me, Crystal. It's been an amazing conversation.
It was really nice to be here. I enjoyed so much. Thank you so much for having me. And
It's my pleasure.
yeah.
Do you feel disconnected at work? Are you feeling exhausted? Almost like you hate your job and secretly maybe your boss too? This is Business is Personal, a blueprint to discovering and creating meaning at work in collaboration with Smashy TV, a live streaming service in the Middle East for the driven, the dreamers, and the doers.